TikTok users were horrified when a disabled woman shared her story of how she was being sued by Airbnb guests who were traumatised by her condition and the presence of disability aids in her home. However, it would turn out that not everything was as it seemed, and no one could have predicted the shocking web of deceit that would begin unravelling. Let's investigate. If you enjoy internet mysteries and generally disturbing content, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can become a Ko-fi member or a channel member to watch uncut videos and access other perks, or you can leave me a tip by clicking the thanks under this video. Thanks to anyone who considers this. To many people, particularly those with a disability, Carrie Jade Williams was seen as an inspiration. At the age of 31, she had been diagnosed with Huntington's disease, a progressive condition that causes symptoms including memory problems, difficulty concentrating, involuntary and fidgety movements of the limbs, mobility problems, mood swings and personality changes, and in the later stages of the disease, problems swallowing, speaking and breathing. It's a severely debilitating and incurable condition that is usually fatal up to 20 years after a person begins showing symptoms. Symptoms typically start at 30 to 50 years of age, but most people are diagnosed at a much younger age because it's an inherited condition, so usually someone who has it will have a parent who also had it. Because Carrie was adopted and didn't know her real parents, she had no idea that she had Huntington's until she began displaying symptoms. She said that during an eye appointment, the optician noticed something odd in her eyes and also mentioned having a seizure in Dublin that led to her diagnosis. In November 2020, she won the Financial Times Bodley Head FT Essay Prize with her essay titled, "My Brain is in a War It Will Lose," which was about her Huntington's diagnosis and was written using a speech-to-text computer program. Quote, "Gratitude creeps in when I'm not expecting it, because without this assistive technology, I would officially be irrelevant now. Silenced, forgotten, because I can no longer type or hold a pen or sometimes get my words out." Carrie went on to describe how she was diagnosed and how it has affected her life since. Here are a few excerpts. "The day I was handed my diagnosis, I'd never even heard of it. As the news seeped in, it wasn't death that frightened me, or even dying, it was being a burden, being irrelevant. Your genetic test showed something," the neurologist had said. "Unfortunately, you have something called Huntington's disease." At the time, I'd been relieved. I'd never heard of Huntington's disease, so I naively presumed it couldn't be that bad. Sensing my positivity, he quickly extinguished it. Imagine Parkinson's meets ALS meets Alzheimer's in one disease. That's what you have. In the moments that followed, I learned that there was no cure, very few treatments, that I was terminal, that my brain, slowly being destroyed by this disease, was in a war that it would lose. In the weeks that followed, I refused to even discuss assistive tech, let alone accept I needed it, until typing became so challenging I had to admit defeat. As so frequently happens in M&S, I'm stood between two women in the queue. Shopping basket lady, who I bet owns a Labradoodle. She looks like the type. Not that I think there's anything wrong with Labradoodles or Labradoodle owners, but with every inch of my temporal lobe gobbled up by this disease comes a darker sense of humour that sometimes only I understand. Mrs. Labradoodle has done her weekly shop. Freshly squeezed orange juice, pastries and pasta sauce placed skillfully on the conveyor belt. I watch her knowing that I will never be her age. I am 31, and if I make it to 35 I'll be doing well. So watching her at what I guess is around 55, I remind myself to let go of the breath I'm holding. I want to fit in, desperate to be accepted, but somehow with all the pretending and editing and hiding instead of celebrating my disability, I'm left questioning why inclusivity includes everyone but women like me, neurodiverse, brain damaged, disabled. I may be a wilted flower by the standards of the world, one that must accept that the life I'd planned for will no longer be a reality, but I'm still in charge of my laptop, my words that dance across the page and speak the same language as the world. Carrie's article is powerful and emotive. In just a few paragraphs, she encapsulates Huntington's disease and what it's like for someone suffering with it. The physical symptoms of the condition are hard enough to deal with, but what's worse is how Carrie was treated as a result of her disability. The most shocking example being an incident that occurred in 2022. In October, she posted a video on TikTok stating that she was being sued for £450,000 by Airbnb guests who said that they were so traumatised by being around her and the disability aids in her home, such as the doorbell, specially adapted kettle, and glasses which they'd mistaken for disability aids, that they'd need therapy to overcome it. She claimed that the guests asked if they could catch her disability and ignored her house rules, and to make matters worse, the Airbnb supported them and told her to keep out of their way. She started a petition on change.org titled, "Help me show a judge that disabled people aren't scary." The description read, "Hello, I am starting this petition as I am about to be sued by guests who stayed with me, who have stated that they are traumatised due to being forced to be around a disabled person, me. I would like to be able to show a judge, when this case goes to court, that 100 people, and I know that is a lot, support the following statement. Disabled people are not scary and should not have to pay compensation if someone dislikes their disability. I can only share my side of this situation legally, so I'm not asking you to support me personally, simply to support the statement that disabled people should not risk being sued for their disability allegedly traumatising another person. As a disabled person, I cannot hide myself away. I cannot change my disability. I have Huntington's disease, which is genetic, and I cannot hide myself away in case I trigger someone. I have also put up videos online about this situation in much more detail. This world can be accessible both on YouTube and TikTok, but I would very much love to have 100 people show their support to highlight that there are others like me who believe that disability is never something to be feared." TikTok users were understandably outraged, wondering how people can be so heartless, cruel, and ignorant towards what appeared to be a nice woman whose mere existence had offended someone. Other disabled creators praised her for telling her story, and also shared their own similar, if less dramatic, stories. It seemed that although what happened to Carrie was abhorrent, perhaps it could open a discussion and shed light on the discrimination that disabled people face. And that might be the case if this incident ever even happened, but it turns out it was a fabrication. From the moment Carrie shared her story on TikTok, some users couldn't help but notice that it sounded a little off. Of course, there are countless stories out there of disabled people being treated differently and actively discriminated against. Sure, people can be horrible and intolerant to others, but this just seemed a bit over the top. It's not totally unbelievable that there are people out there that would be ridiculous enough to get offended by someone being disabled, but for them to go as far as suing her, and for Airbnb to support them on that, just doesn't quite add up. Prior to her TikTok videos, Carrie contacted Vice requesting that they publicise her story, however the reporter was unable to verify it, and when they contacted a spokesperson for Airbnb, they said they had no record of such a complaint or any legal action taking place. Opinion was divided on TikTok and other platforms like Twitter, where users were discussing the case, with some speculating that Carrie had fabricated the story, and others horrified that anyone would accuse her of that, believing that she wouldn't lie about something so serious. And you can't really blame those people for taking her side, especially genuinely disabled people who may have been falsely accused themselves of lying about or exaggerating their symptoms and experiences. Internet sleuths began piecing together the inconsistencies, and a troubling picture was starting to form. This incident wasn't the only thing that Carrie had lied about. In fact, it was only the tip of the iceberg, and the truth about who she really was turned out to be much darker than anyone had expected. Those who followed Carrie on TikTok may have noticed that shortly before she deleted all her social media, she had turned off the comments. Little did they know at the time, this was a last-ditch attempt to conceal her real identity, as comments had started to appear referring to her as Samantha Cookes. And when people realised who Samantha Cookes was, everything started to make sense. A quick Google search of the name brings up numerous articles labelling Samantha a fraudster and con artist, dating back to 2011, when she was jailed for 9 months after scamming a couple who were unable to have children, promising she would be their surrogate, but instead she took their money and ran. According to yorkpress.co.uk, former University of York student Samantha Cookes promised to be a surrogate mother for the childless North Yorkshire couple, but took them for all they had. Cookes told a series of lies about her background and employment as she convinced her victims, who live in Northallerton, she was the ideal woman to carry their longed-for baby. She said she was a social worker and had been a surrogate for a wealthy family in the Midlands, and provided references from the grateful mother. The 23-year-old asked for money up front, for contracts, legal fees, expenses, and insemination kits, as the couple excitedly planned the pregnancy. After parting with savings of more than £1,200, the couple were devastated when they realised she was a fraudster preying on their desperate situation. Cookes was given a 9-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years, with probation service supervision after she admitted fraud by false representation. The judge, recorder Ben Nolan, also ordered her to pay £1,890 in compensation, which includes the money she took and the added costs the couple incurred. As it happens, Carrie Williams wasn't the first fake identity that Samantha had created, as she pulled off the surrogacy scam by creating a fake Facebook account under a different name. She claimed that she had already been a surrogate for a wealthy family in the Midlands, and she created another fake account under a different name, posing as the fabricated mother of the child that never existed, to give her wealthy family in the Midlands story credibility. A post was made on the Island subreddit on the 7th of October that exposed the Airbnb story as a hoax and linked articles detailing the surrogacy scam, and the same day Samantha deleted all her social media accounts. The following day, she posted a statement on her website. "My name is Carrie Jade Williams, and I am writing this on the advice of my legal team. I'm an entirely separate individual to my sister, whose mental health past has been dragged into my life as an attempt to discredit my advocacy work. It is illegal and defamation to attempt to suggest that my sister's past is mine when I'm an entirely different individual. Legal steps have already been undertaken to stop this illegal defamation. I'm an entirely separate individual and appalled that the internet trolls have attempted to discredit my advocacy by bringing my sister's past and suggesting I am she. The mixing of people's lives is defamation. I am my own individual person. I was not aware of the full history of my sister's mental health difficulties, though we love and support her. She has moved her life onwards and not had any legal trouble in nearly a decade. I will not be providing any further comment on my sister due to the threats received. I stand in support of all those with mental health difficulties. My sister has had a long history of mental health difficulties and is suffering due to internet trolls attacking both of us. Internet platforms need to urgently take steps to ensure their platforms are not used to defame individuals and their families. I am not my sister, and although we look similar, like many families, I am older and heavier. We live in separate locations and lead separate lives. It is defamatory to suggest that we are the same people when we are in fact separate individuals. Anyone suggesting we are the same individual will face the full force of the law. We ask for peace and quiet during this devastating time for me to mind my sister and take the legal steps to protect my reputation as per the law." Of course, this was all yet another lie, and a family member who spoke with Vice stated that Samantha doesn't even have a sister, as well as revealing other details. She was not adopted, she does not have Huntington's disease, and there were yet more aliases that she had been known by in her shady past. Here's a timeline of events. In September 2013, Samantha was reported missing. She was found 4 weeks later after she had fled to Ireland with a fake ID to escape social services, who were trying to take her baby into care because due to her psychological problems, they didn't think Samantha was fit to look after her. She already had another child, but the father had full custody, and he was later granted custody of the younger baby too. In 2014, Samantha worked as an au pair for a family in Ireland under the name Lucy Hart, and a woman who called herself Bonnie in order to remain anonymous told Vice what happened. Bonnie stated that in hindsight she feels stupid because she never asked Samantha for references or a passport because she seemed so convincing and lovely in the interview they had. She started to notice something was off when Samantha began telling increasingly unbelievable stories, and eventually she confronted her. Bonnie also found a number of worrying handwritten notes, and it is not clear to me whether she evicted Samantha or if Samantha chose to leave the home herself, but either way, she no longer worked for the family after this. In 2016, Samantha created another pseudonym, Lucy Fitzwilliam, and introduced herself as an occupational therapist and the owner of a domestic violence refuge to a woman named Lynn, who had 2 young daughters. Samantha offered the 8-year-old daughter therapy sessions, and it's not clear what happened in those sessions, but afterwards, the girl had to attend actual therapy to undo the damage done by Samantha. She also tried to persuade Lynn to allow her to care for the younger daughter, who suffered with various disabilities, though thankfully Lynn declined her offer. Shortly after, Samantha approached a number of local families and offered them a trip to Lapland at Christmas, telling them that if they paid €500, her church would cover the other $500 for them. Unsurprisingly, this was another scam, and the Lapland trip never happened, leaving the families out of pocket. Although she was reported to the police, no charges were brought against her for this. In 2017, Samantha was calling herself Rebecca Fitzgerald and was working with a number of families, offering therapy sessions that she was not qualified to provide. No further details have been revealed about her activity with these families, as they all refuse to talk because they are afraid of her. Soon after, Samantha went missing, so none of the families she worked with or her acquaintances had any idea what happened to Rebecca Fitzgerald. Her next known identity was Carrie Jade Williams, and under this name, she won a place at a contemporary arts project, where she befriended others working on the project and told them that her first ever pitch had been accepted by the New Yorker. Another lie. She also claimed to have sold a script to Netflix, yet unsurprisingly, when Vice contacted Netflix, a spokesperson said that they had no record of ever working with her. She continued scamming people in 2021 after revealing that she had Huntington's disease, when she helped run workshops at the Carnegie Arts Festival and held various writing competitions that cost €8 to enter, promising bursaries worth between €10,000 and €40,000 as prizes. No one ever received the prizes though, and after encouraging the entrants to send her samples of their writing, she stopped replying to their emails. She also sent various job offers to some of the entrants on behalf of a company that didn't even exist, and one woman claimed to have turned down several other real job offers, believing Samantha's offer was genuine. Another quit her long-term job to take one of these fake positions. The following year, Samantha launched an online store selling sensory products for disabled children, though she doesn't appear to have ever fulfilled the orders, as customers claim that they never received the items they paid for. By this point, you might be wondering what may have caused Samantha to become a compulsive liar and a scammer. According to people who knew her when she was younger, she had always been a compulsive liar, and was known to fabricate dramatic stories for attention in high school, but there was an event that occurred which seemingly caused her mental health to deteriorate even further. In 2008, Samantha gave birth to a daughter, Martha, who tragically died at just 4 months old due to sudden infant death syndrome. In November that year, she had put her daughter to bed, gone to take a nap herself, and when she woke up and went to check on her baby, she found her dead in her cot. This would, of course, be a very traumatic experience for anyone to endure, but given that Samantha already displayed signs of mental illness, this may well have been the event that tipped her over the edge. This incident had worked in her favour during the trial for the surrogacy scam, as the judge said that it was only the complex psychological and emotional background which had saved her from immediate jail. The subsequent removal of her 2 children that were born years later would have inevitably contributed to that complex psychological and emotional background. So what happened to Samantha after her lies were exposed on TikTok? No one knows. Her landlord gave her an eviction notice because she owed him over £3,000 in rent, and also failed to inform him that she was renting out the property on Airbnb. The landlord claimed that after she left, a significant amount of his furniture had gone missing, and since then, no one has seen or heard from Samantha, and her whereabouts are unknown. This is extremely concerning, as she is potentially a very dangerous individual. In fact, all of the people who had come into contact with her and spoke to Vice stated that they were afraid of her and concerned for their safety. Although the Airbnb story is just the latest of a string of dangerous tales fabricated by Samantha, it is the first that has gained somewhat widespread attention on the internet, so I can only hope that now more people are aware of who she is, this will make it harder for her to re-emerge and continue scamming people. But considering she has somehow managed to move around using various identities for years now, it's probably only a matter of time until she finds a new gig and more victims. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts in the comments, plus any other controversial internet figures you'd like me to cover. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Huge thank you to my Ko-fi members and channel members whose names are on screen now. I really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday in a new video.